January transfer window is not far away, and for Middlesbrough, it could be a really busy month. Kim Hellberg's side have made a wonderful start to the campaign. We're sitting in the automatic promotion places, but that doesn't mean that there's not going to be a number of deals potentially getting done during the next transfer window. Here are 10 potential deals for Middlesbrough fans to watch out for next month. Here we go. The first player on our list is probably no surprise to many of you, and that's Micah Hamilton. Now, Hamilton arrived from Manchester City with a glowing reputation as a future potential star. Now, since he's moved to Middlesbrough, things haven't quite worked out for him. He's made 18 appearances, many of them being a substitute, and this season he's played just 13 minutes of first-team football, including 1 minute against Queen's Park Rangers at the weekend. Now, for him, it's quite a pivotal time in his career. He's 22 years old. He really needs first-team football. And the question mark will be whether that 1 minute will lead to more football under Kim Hellberg at Middlesbrough, or whether he needs to move away on loan in the January transfer window. He joined Stockport last January on a loan spell, didn't quite work out for him. The real thing for him is that he needs first-team football, whether that's with Middlesbrough or elsewhere, so I would not be surprised to see Micah Hamilton leaving on loan during the January transfer window. The second player who could potentially move away from Middlesbrough in January is Abdoulaye Kante. Now, Kante arrived over the summer with a glowing reputation as a strong defensive midfielder, someone who was going to be quick in the tackle and really keen to intercept the ball. Things started off quite well for him. He played a number of minutes early on in his career, but since then, things haven't quite worked out for him the way that he'd hoped. He hasn't actually played for Middlesbrough's first team since the end of September. Now, that's down to a couple of different factors. Injuries have played a big part in that, but as well as that, there has been real competition for places in those central midfield spots with Hayden Hackney, Aidan Morris, Alan Brown, and more recently Alex Gilbert vying for those positions. Now, at the moment, it seems unlikely that he's going to be getting a lot of first-team football. So similar to Micah Hamilton, he probably does need to be getting some game time in the second half of the season. If that's not going to happen with Middlesbrough, he probably needs to be heading out on loan. So that's a deal that I could certainly see happening in the second half of the campaign. Next on the list is Sonny Finch. Now, Finch is a player who 12 months ago I'd have been saying that he was probably someone that would be knocking on the door of Middlesbrough's first team and would be the next academy starlet breaking into that first team fold, but it just hasn't happened for him at Middlesbrough so far. He's 20 years of age now. He's clearly a big talent, but he seems to be some way off getting into that first team squad on a consistent basis, and that for me suggests that he may not be part of Middlesbrough's plans moving forward. Now, he's been playing really, really well for the under-21 side. He was nominated for the PL2's Player of the Month in November, so he's clearly doing very well there, but he just needs to make that step into first team football. It's clearly not going to happen with Middlesbrough right now, so for me, wouldn't be a surprise to see him leave in January. That could be on a loan deal to get some first team experience, or potentially it could be a move where Middlesbrough look to sell him on in order to recoup some money in the short term and the long term. Of course, we saw it last January with AJ Matthews. We've seen it previously with people like Callum Kavanagh and those kind of players as well. So would not be a surprise to see him move on, whether that's on loan or on a permanent deal next month. The next player on our list is Lucas Engel. Now, he's someone who many people thought that his career with Middlesbrough was completely over. He fell out of favour. He had a difficult first 18 months or so on Teesside, putting some pretty average performances. And you've got to say, I think a lot of supporters remember that horror show against Sheffield Wednesday when he was absolutely torn apart. He didn't really recover from that, and so for the last year he's been out on loan in the MLS with FC Cincinnati. Now, he's done really well there. Of course, for Middlesbrough, since he's left, Middlesbrough have had two different head coaches in that time. He left when Michael Carrick was in charge. We've had Rob Edwards, and now we've got Kim Hellberg. And Kim Hellberg has said that he wants to give Lucas Engel an opportunity to challenge in the first team. Now, of course, we've got a squad of 25 players. That's going to be difficult to condense everyone down into, but it wouldn't be a surprise to me if when we got into January, if Hellberg did take a look at Engel, give him an opportunity, but then potentially choose to move him on, because we've got Bangura and Matt Targett at left back, and centre back were well stocked as well. It is worth noting that with Cincinnati, he did play as a left-sided central defender quite often, so potentially there could be an opportunity there, but personally I'd be surprised if there was a place for him in Middlesbrough's first team, and so on that basis would not be a surprise to see him moved on before the end of the January transfer window, whether on a permanent deal or another loan deal. George Edmondson's a player that I'd be keen to keep an eye on next month, because he just hasn't quite worked out for him this season. Under Rob Edwards for a little while, it looked like he was going to be one of our first choice defenders, but since Kim Hellberg's come in, he has sort of struggled for game time, and more recently we have been playing with Dale Fry or Luke Ayling or Matt Targett in those central defensive positions. Now, I know that injuries have played a part in that suspension as well with George Edmondson, but for me, it just seems like a player who might have fallen down the pecking order a little bit. He is someone that Middlesbrough could recoup a transfer fee for, and with so much competition for places in central defence, as well as the fact that Adelson Malander is going to be linking up with the club on January the 1st, he may well be someone who was seen to be dispensable in January. Now, he's still a good player. He's still someone who was a lot to offer Middlesbrough at first team level, but potentially, if Kim Hellberg has to get ruthless to fit his players into this 25-man squad, George Edmondson could be one of the players who could be at risk of moving on. So we're at the midway point in our list, and if you'll just indulge me for a second, I just want to say thank you for your support on the channel Bonkers for Boro. There's plenty more coming up very, very soon, particularly in the January transfer window where it's going to get very, very busy. So if you are enjoying this content, please do hit subscribe to get all the latest Middlesbrough FC news straight to your inbox. Number 6 on our list is an incoming deal, one which Middlesbrough have been pursuing for a little while, and that's a deal to sign Max Arfsten. Now, Arfsten is a left back. Left wing back. He's playing currently for Columbus Crew in the MLS, and he's enjoyed a wonderful season over there, playing 37 games in the 2025 campaign, scored 7 goals, provided 6 assists, and he really is a very hotly rated target. Now, for Middlesbrough, he's someone that we tracked over the summer. A deal didn't quite come off, but it does feel like he is a long-term target for Middlesbrough and someone who could move to Middlesbrough before too long. Now, of course, at left back, we are in a position where we've got Alex Bangura back to fitness. We've got Matt Targett, who's doing well. But of course, he is only on loan. He will be heading back to Newcastle before his contract expires next summer. So that left back spot does still seem like a troubled position and one which we could look to fill. Now, if there is a deal to be done, potentially Middlesbrough could move for him in the January transfer window. If that doesn't happen, it may well be next summer that we move for him. But of course, there's going to be lots of competition for his signature. So Middlesbrough may need to move quickly as early as the January transfer window if they do want to get this one done. Next on the list of potential deals that could be done for Middlesbrough during the January transfer window is Delano Bergzorg. Now, Bergzorg is someone who's getting a good amount of game time with Middlesbrough at the moment, but in my opinion, he is just dropping down the pecking order a little bit, particularly in the last few weeks, where we've seen Morgan Whittaker and Riley McGree really come in and nail those starting spots in those supporting roles behind the striker. Now, Bergzorg's someone who, on his day, can be brilliant. He's someone who has the pace and trickery to cause real problems for opponents. His final ball is often what lets him down. And I think the problem with Delano Bergzorg is just simply that you don't know what you're getting from him. He plays one good game, and then he plays another few times. You think you're going to get a good performance out of him, but he's just so inconsistent. That final ball is often lacking, and so for me, it wouldn't be a surprise if Delano Bergzorg is allowed to leave. Of course, we are going to be under pressure to fit in that 25-man squad with some real attacking talent in there and potentially some new additions coming in as well. It wouldn't surprise me if Delano Bergzorg's days with Middlesbrough are numbered before too long. Next on our list of players who could leave Middlesbrough this month is Seny Dieng. Now, Dieng is a goalkeeper who arrived from Queen's Park Rangers. He arrived as the club's number 1 goalkeeper, but since then a lot has changed for him. He's endured a long-term injury. Since then, Soldrin has also displaced him as the club's number 1, and there's just no shifting Soldrin at the moment. He is undoubtedly Middlesbrough's best goalkeeper. His performances at times last season, but then also particularly this season, have been absolutely outstanding. Undoubtedly the best goalkeeper at the club in terms of his shot stopping and his distribution as well. Of course, his assist against QPR to set up Morgan Whittaker was absolutely outstanding. And for me, he is someone who could hold the number 1 jersey with Middlesbrough for a long time to come if Middlesbrough could keep hold of him. So I think for Seny Dieng, he is someone who will want to play first-team football. It may well be the case that Middlesbrough do allow him to move on. We might be able to recoup a transfer fee, so it could be a deal that is in the best interest of all parties for Seny Dieng to leave Middlesbrough before the end of January. The penultimate name on our list is Hayden Hackney. Now, Hayden Hackney is someone who a lot of supporters, including myself, do not want to lose this month. But unfortunately, because of how good he has been this season, Middlesbrough could be in quite a tricky position with him. Now, of course, there was a lot of interest over the summer. Ipswich Town came very, very close to signing him. He actually held talks at Portman Road over a permanent move to the club after their relegation from the Premier League. That was with a view to a 20... I think it was a 20 or a £25 million move to Portman Road. And since then, he did decide that he didn't want to leave the club. He wanted to stay with Middlesbrough because if he was going to be moving to another championship club, he may as well stay with Middlesbrough. But of course, because his performances have been so good this season, clubs in the Premier League are likely to come knocking for him. Now, Hayden Hackney is someone who, he's always been a good player at championship level. I think last season I'd probably say that he was one of the better players in the league. I think this season he's kicked on even further, and for me, he is just now too good to play in the championship. So what the decision will be for Hayden Hackney will be is, does he want to twist, I guess, to move to the Premier League now, or does he want to stick with Middlesbrough? Because of course we are in a wonderful position, second in the table, challenging for automatic promotion, and so he could potentially be playing Premier League football with the club next season. Now, of course, that's a decision that he's going to have to make. It does depend on other clubs coming in for him and making an offer, but based on his performances this season so far, it would be really surprising if no one came in to test the waters with an offer for Hayden Hackney. The decision likely will come down to him and whether he wants to stay with Middlesbrough to help his hometown club secure promotion. Hopefully he does that, but you can never know. And ultimately, if he did leave the club next month, he would only go with the blessing of the Middlesbrough supporters who've been so impressed, not just with his performances on the pitch, but also his conduct off it in terms of the way that he handled all of that real intense transfer scrutiny over the summer. The final player on the list of potential deals that could happen in January is involving Sverre Nypan. Now, of course, he arrived on loan from Manchester City over the summer. He just signed a 12.5 million deal to join Man City from Rosenborg in Norway. And since then, the decision was made for him to leave the club on loan in order to get some regular first-team football. Middlesbrough were the club who won the race to sign him. He came to Middlesbrough in the hope of playing regularly in the Championship, but it hasn't really worked out for him in the way that he'd hoped. Since he's arrived at the club, he's made 14 appearances, but only 3 of those have come in the starting 11. Now, the last start that he made was on the 25th of October against Wrexham. So it's been a little while since he started a game. Game time has been at a premium for him. And so you've got to wonder that whether for his sake and for Man City's sake, whether they'll be happy with the arrangement of the fact that he is only being a bit part player with Middlesbrough at present. Now, of course, Nypan is a hugely talented player, someone that I'd love to stay with Middlesbrough during the second half of the campaign. But you do wonder whether this could be a potential decision to be made for Man City if they are happy with the arrangement. Now, as it stands at the moment, I'm not aware whether there is a recall clause or a break clause in that deal, but it is one to keep an eye on for Middlesbrough fans, as potentially he could be someone who is taken away from the club in order to secure another loan elsewhere where he is going to be playing more regular first-team football. That's a little whistle-stop tour of what could potentially happen in the January transfer window. A lot of deals that could potentially be done, and of course we'll have all of the latest here on Bonkers for Boro with all the biggest talking points from the Riverside Stadium. If you have enjoyed this video, please do hit like, please do hit subscribe to get all the latest straight to your inbox. And if you have enjoyed this, please do drop into the comments below as well. Let me know what deals you would like to see from Middlesbrough in the January transfer window. I'll catch up with you next time.